Hi folks, hope we're all doing good. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today, well for me at least. The new Thomas and Friends DLC for Train Sim World 5 comes out very shortly, and I thought I'd do a little tutorial about how to drive the two drivable characters in it, which are Thomas and Diesel. I'm also going to make this available for complete beginners, so we're going to be going over the basic controls for the game, as well as the controls it talks about in the tutorials. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get going. I am a Dovetail Games ambassador. They did give me this key. They have no editorial control over anything I say. All my thoughts are my own. I just have to put that out there just in case people think that I'm being paid to say stuff. I'm not. The other thing is that this channel, although this video is probably suitable for kids, this channel is not suitable for kids. So if you're an adult watching this and you're thinking, oh, he's done a tutorial for Thomas and Friends, that must mean he's got like a kid-friendly channel. It's not the case. This is probably the only video I'm ever going to do that's got no effing and jeffing in. I am sorry about that. The other thing is I am playing on PC, so the controls that I'm going to be talking about are going to be on mouse and keyboard. You can play this with the controller, and obviously if you're on a console you can play it with the controller, but I'm going to be using a mouse and keyboard. So first things first, there are 10 different scenarios for this DLC. We're going to be doing the first two, which are both tutorials, and the rest are sort of narrative-based scenarios. Also, just to let you know, there is menu music here. It does play the Thomas and Friends theme, the original one that we all know and love. However, I had to turn it off because I don't want to get thrown in jail by the copyright police, so you're probably going to hear some stock music over me talking. I do apologise for that, but in the actual game, there is the Thomas and Friends music in this menu. So, first of all, we're going to learn how to drive Thomas. Let's jump straight into it. I will try my hardest not to interrupt the narrator, by the way. I'm sorry if I do.
Hello there, and welcome to the training centre. Before you can start your adventures on the West Somerset Railway, you will need to learn how to drive Thomas. In this short introduction, you will be taken through every step needed to make sure that Thomas is a really useful engine. And I'm sure you'll be an expert driver in no time. It looks like Thomas is eager to get started, so let's begin. Hello, driver. I can't wait to get started and show you what a really useful engine I am. First, you will need to climb aboard. Follow the blue markers in front of you as they will guide you to Thomas's cab steps.
Alright, first things first. As I said, this is for total beginners. I'm using my mouse to look around, like that. You can also zoom in and out using the scroll wheel on your mouse. So zoom in, zoom out. You can walk around with the W, A, S and D keys. You can see that at the top left. It will show you the basic controls at the top left during this tutorial, but I will also repeat them, just in case. You can also sprint while you're on foot, so you can hold down shift while you move. And you sprint around like that.
Before you can climb the steps, you will need to check if Thomas's cab door is open. If you can see that the cab door is closed, you can open it by first looking at it and then pressing the button shown on the screen.
So if you go up to it, it will show you on the screen itself, cab door, and then the left click is highlighted. So we just left click and the door opens.
Now that Thomas's cab door is open, you can use the steps to climb up into Thomas's cab.
Again, if we sort of go up here, E to step up, press E, and we're in.
Welcome to Thomas's cab. Here you'll be able to learn the controls needed to drive Thomas. Let's get started by first moving over to the driving position.
Before that, I'm actually going to close this cab door. Again, left click to close it. What I should say in this is, for Thomas and for Diesel, the train controls I believe are not interactive. I think on every other train in the game, the buttons are interactive, so you can actually like pull these levers and twist all the things around, and that they will actually work. I believe in this, because it is for kids, it's simplified. So there is really two buttons to it, and we'll find out what they are shortly. So to stand in the engineer position, again, press E.
If you want a better view of your train or the line ahead, you can change between several different external camera views at any time whilst driving. For this introduction, use the controls shown on screen to change to this particular external camera.
So you see at the top left, it says press the 3 key. So we're going to press 3, and it's got an external camera.
This is one of several external camera views available to you. You can switch between this view and the internal cab view at any time by pressing either of the controls shown here.
So you press 1 to go back to first person.
Would you like to switch back to
and
the
3 to
internal
go to
cab
external.
view, or keep using the external camera?
For the time being, we will stay in this view.
To drive Thomas forwards, you will need to use the throttle. Press and hold the control shown on screen to increase the throttle and get Thomas moving.
So this is super simple. Again, it is for kids. Super simple. There's 2 buttons to drive this train. Again, you can move this camera around. You can also move it around with the arrow keys. You can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. There's multiple external cameras as well, but we'll go through them shortly. Just for now, we're going to learn how to drive the train. So it's really simple. Hold down A, and we get moving.
Well done.
And then if you want to stop accelerating, you just release A. Space to blow the whistle. Which is pretty good. Very authentic.
To slow Thomas down, or when you want to come to a stop, you will need to apply the brakes. Use the control shown on screen to apply the brakes and bring Thomas to a stop on the blue marker.
So, similar to accelerating to brake, you just hold D and it will slowly brake. If you want to release the brakes, you just let go of D. If you want to accelerate again, hold down A, so we'll go a little bit faster. You can see at the bottom right, I've got my speedometer set up, and you can see there's a little circle, a little red circle with an exclamation point in the middle of it. That is the current track limit, so we don't want to be going over 40 kilometers an hour here, so we'll stay under that for the time being. And we're just going to stop at this marker that's up ahead. You can see there's a blue circle on the track. We're going to be stopping on that, or as close to that as possible. So, I'm going to brake a little bit more. Release and make a little bit more. There we go. It's close enough.
Annie and Clarabelle are waiting in the sidings behind you, and you must collect them before heading to the station. In order to reach Annie and Clarabelle, you will first need to switch the junction so that it is set to the correct track. You can set the junction by either using the route map or climbing down out of the cab and walking over to it.
So I'm going to change the junction. So for this example, we're going to go into first person. You can do it in external camera if you want. We're going to do it in first person for this one. Press 1 to go back into first person. E to jump off the engineer's position. Left click, open the cab door, and then E to step down. There you go. We can walk over to this, and you can see left click, and what you'll do is hold down left click here, and then you've basically got a choice between left and right. And to move this, I'm going to be moving the mouse up to right. So I'm just moving the mouse down, up, you can see. So it just down or up depending on which one you want to switch it to. It's going to be switching this to right.
Come to a stop as close as possible to them to ensure that they couple successfully.
So
to make Thomas reverse,
let him
press
finish.
and hold the control shown here until Thomas starts moving backwards.
Okay, step back up, close the door, engineer's position, and to reverse, we'll go back into the external camera with 3. To reverse, we are holding D. So it's just the opposite of what we were doing before. I'm going to move the camera a little bit so I can get a bit of a better view of coupling here. It will automatically couple this time. And we're going to hold A to brake while you're reversing. So we'll go a little bit slower here. So the only bug that I found so far in this is that if you go too fast in this and you derail on this section here, you cannot start from the last checkpoint because it doesn't like it. I am going quite fast there, and I'm quite lucky that it decided to couple.
Hello, Annie. Hello, Clarabelle.
Sorry about that. Nobody's perfect.
Hello, Thomas. Well done. You're now ready to head to the station. When you're ready to continue, use the throttle to apply some power to drive Thomas forwards.
I should say it's quite easy to mix up A and D when you're moving forwards and backwards. It's something that I've done several times so far. I will probably do it again at some point. I did just do it earlier then as well. So we're going to go 1.5 kilometers here. So we'll just pick it up to about 40 kilometers an hour, and at this point I'm going to show you some of the other external cameras. So we've seen one, which is first person, and if you want to snap it back into position, you just press 1 again. It snaps it back into position. We've also looked at 3, which is this one. You can move this one about, as we've said. There's also 2, which locks onto the front loco. Again, we can move this about with the mouse, scroll wheel, and we can also zoom in and out very slowly with the arrow keys up and down. And then my favourite is number 8, and that is the free cam. And what you can do with this is arrow keys to move them around. You can also hold shift to move this one faster. So what we can do is we can go down here, and we can pretend we're a little person waiting by the tracks as we watch Thomas go fast. And we can see we're going to accelerate a lot more now because the speed limit has moved up to 100 kilometers an hour, so we can pick up some speed. Nice. So they're the 4 cameras, 1, 2, 3 and 8 on your keyboard. So we will stay in number 3 for the time being, just because that's the one it tells us to stay in. It doesn't really matter at this point, and we're going to stop in about 650 meters. But we'll obviously come to a stop a bit before that. It will tell us in a second to slow down as well. I don't want to interrupt the narrator. Here we go.
You're nearing the station now, so remember to slow down and come to a stop at the platform.
So I'm just going to start slowing down a little bit here just to make sure we don't overshoot it. It's very easy to overshoot in this. Trains do take a while to slow down, if you're not familiar with that. So we'll go down to about 25-ish and we'll just slowly move across. Might even go into free cam here and go by the stopping point, which is this blue bit here. Don't mind me, just pressing the whistle for a laugh. And hold the brakes. There we go, close enough.
To allow the passengers to climb aboard, you will first need to open the passenger doors, using the control shown on screen.
So, open the passenger doors and close them. On the left-hand side, it's Y on your keyboard. You see that open now? And on the right-hand side, it's U. So, on the right-hand side, U to open, and then press U again to close. And you'll see on the left-hand side, it's Y again to close them, as we're going to do now.
Well done. It looks like all of the passengers have boarded now, so you can go ahead and close the passenger doors by using the control shown here.
There we go. It tells us to press Y. I skipped that, and I apologise, but I did tell you already it is Y.
Use the throttle once again to apply some
I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Thomas moving.
Right, let's go. Hold down A. Let's get going. Let's go back into the external camera that follows Thomas. Let's get a nice view down here, actually. And let's pick up a bit of speed. We've got 700 odd meters, so I should say that this 742 meters you can see on the left, that is as the crow flies. Obviously, we're not going as the crow flies. We're going on a track. So you might see that number go up a little bit if the station is actually behind us, which it is on this map because it's sort of in a bit of a loop. But as we get closer to it, it's gonna reduce that distance. So the characters for this, there's Thomas and Annie and Clarabelle, as we can see here. Just going to start braking. And in the next scenario, we're going to see Diesel and the Troublesome Trucks as well. So that's all the characters that are in this. Obviously, Thomas and Diesel are the 2 drivable ones. I say obviously. If you're not familiar with them, then you might not have known that. But so we'll just gently come to a stop here. say gently. I'll give it a go at least. Practice makes perfect with getting these perfect. So that was pretty good.
Good work. Now open the passenger doors to allow the passengers to start boarding.
So, on the right hand side, obviously, so you to open, and then in a moment it'll be you to close it again. Also, yes, the eyes do move. It's slightly terrifying, I think, personally.
Splendid work.
Especially when it looks directly at you.
It looks like you and Thomas will make a great team. And I'm certain you will be an expert driver in no time.
Super. Close the
If you'd
doors.
like to learn how to drive Thomas again, you can return to the training centre at any time to replay this tutorial.
So that's how you drive Thomas. Next up, we're going to be learning how to drive Diesel. So we're going to continue journey, and the next tutorial, learn to drive Devious Diesel. It will go over a lot of what we've just gone over, but I don't think that's a terrible thing. You know, if you're new to the game, it'll really help you to do it multiple times.
Welcome to the training centre.
It will repeat itself a little bit here.
Before you can start your adventures on the West Somerset Railway, you will need to learn how to drive Diesel. In this short introduction, you will be taken through every step needed to make sure.
See, I don't remember
you
Diesel
and
looking
Diesel
like this.
are ready for work.
It must be in the newer series he looks like this. He looked a lot meaner when I was a kid.
Diesel is waiting for you, so let's get started. Hello, you must be my new driver. I hope the two of us will have lots of fun together. First, you will need to climb aboard. Follow the blue markers in front of you, as they will guide you to Diesel's cab steps.
So again, WASD, move forward to here.
Before you can climb the steps, you will need to check if Diesel's cab door is open. If you can see that the cab door is closed, you can open it by first looking at it and then pressing the button shown on the screen.
So, same as Thomas, left click to open the door.
Now that Diesel's cab door is open, you can use the steps to climb up into Diesel's cab.
And again, it'll be E to climb up.
Welcome to Diesel's cab. Here you will be able to learn the controls needed to drive Diesel. Let's get started by first moving over to the driving position.
Okay, I'm going to close the door. I'm just going to give you another little hint here. This is not particularly important for these two trains, but if you're playing on the other trains, what you can do is when you're in any camera mode, you can press right click on your mouse. And what it will do is it'll give you your actual mouse back, if that makes sense, which means you won't be moving about. And what you can do, if there's different buttons that you need to press, you can click them with the mouse without having to move the camera around and do that, because that can get a little bit... all the movement, it can sort of give you a bit of a headache after a while if you're moving all the time to press tiny little buttons. So sometimes it's easier to just right click, press the buttons like that, and then right click to go back into this mode. Anyway, that's not important for this, but that's just a little tip if you're going to be playing with, I suppose, real trains later on. So E to sit in the engineer's seat.
If you want a better view of your train or the line ahead, you can change between several different external camera views at any time whilst driving. For this introduction, use the controls shown on screen to change to this particular external camera.
So again, it's going to talk us about the number 3 key.
This is one of several external camera views available to you. You can switch between this view and the internal cab view at any time by pressing either of the controls shown here. Would you like to switch back to the internal cab view or keep using the external camera?
We'll stay in the external one for now. Again, doesn't matter.
To drive Diesel forward,
it's your own.
You will need to use
it's your own
throttle.
decision.
Press and hold the control shown on screen to increase the throttle and get Diesel moving.
So again, hold A to get Diesel moving, just like Thomas.
Well done. You're doing a good job so far.
Bit of smoke there. Diesel's horn with space.
To slow Diesel down, or when you want to come to a stop, you will need to apply the brakes. Use the controls shown on screen to apply the brakes and bring Diesel to a stop on the blue marker.
So just like we did with Thomas, we're just going to move forward 260 odd meters. So these characters as well can be driven on any route in free roam. They're not limited to the West Somerset Railway route that the story's set on. So, you know, if you've got any of the other DLCs or if you've got the base game, you can have Thomas and Diesel barreling down the West Coast Main Line or Mittenwald Barn or anything like that in Boston, which I think's pretty good. I'm going to stop on the blue circle.
Oh dear. It looks like the troublesome trucks are in a bit of a mess, and you will need to shunt them back together again. In order to reach the troublesome trucks, you will first need to switch the junction so that it is set to the correct track. You can set the junction by either using the route map or by climbing down out of the cab and walking over to it.
So this time we're going to use the free cam. So we are in the we're in an external camera for this one. The free cam is technically number 8, but we'll go into the number 3 cam. So instead of having to walk out like we did before in first person and run out to the signal, you can just do this while you're just in external camera. So same as we did before, moving the mouse up while you're holding left click.
With the junction now set,
it's a lot faster to do that.
To the first set of troublesome trucks.
Again, it's just how you prefer to play it. Some people will like sort of jumping out the cab and running over there. I prefer doing that personally, but it is quicker to use the external camera. Okay, so because I was talking over the narrator there, I apologise for that. We are going to accelerate forward, and we're going to couple up to the first set of troublesome trucks just up ahead. And again, these are going to automatically couple, as you will see. I'll get a nice view for that. Again, keep an eye on the distance. Make sure you're not going too fast because you might derail. So I'll bring it down. There we go. That's automatically coupled.
Now then, you troublesome trucks, I expect you to behave and not be so troublesome.
It's slightly terrifying, but it's fine, I think.
Now that you're coupled to the first set of troublesome trucks, you will need to reverse back to the junction to change the track so that you can reach the next set.
Okay, so I'm just going to reverse back. I pressed the wrong button there, I'm sorry. So it's D, not A. It's D to reverse. There we go. I was pressing A by mistake. You probably will make that mistake yourself, unless you're very, very good at the game. It might just be that I'm terrible at it. I'm definitely not an expert. I just about know enough to make a tutorial for a kids DLC. So hold A to brake a little bit. It's going to take a little bit longer to brake. I overshot it a bit, and that is because we're carrying extra carriages. We are a little bit heavier, so it does take us longer to brake. So what we need to do is just go back. So tiny bit of throttle, and then brake again. That's my mistake. Although it's probably good that I made that mistake, because it might have taught you something as well.
Highlighted to change the track.
That's my excuse
then
anyway.
Head into the siding to couple to the second set of troublesome trucks.
So again, we're going to just switch one of these junctions. Hold left click, move it up. There we go. And I'll get a nice view of that. And off we go. And I'm going to try not to go too fast this time, because, like I said, it does take a lot longer to brake when we're carrying extra stuff. So this DLC, if you get it by itself and you've already got the West Somerset Railway route, it's £19.99 or €24.99 or $24.99. If you haven't got the West Somerset Railway, which this route needs, which this DLC needs, then you can get a bundle of the Thomas DLC and the West Somerset Railway, and that's £29.99 or €34.99 or $39.99. Just going to brake. There we go.
Now you're in the right position. You can go ahead and couple up to the troublesome trucks. This can be done by either using the external camera to select the coupling or by walking over to it on foot.
So it's going to teach us how to manually couple this one. So what you need to do, if you're either on foot or in the camera, you go up to here and you can see where these chains are, where you couple it, and it will just say left click and it will tell you if it's uncoupled or coupled. So we just press left click and it'll couple them.
Good work. That's the second set of troublesome trucks coupled to your train. There is still one set left to shunt, so reverse back to the junction and set it to the correct track.
Okay, so we're going to reverse back again. Again, I'll try not to overshoot this one. No promises though. I just want to say as well, if anyone finds this useful, drop a like, drop a comment. I've never done something like this before, so if you do find it useful, it'd be nice for me to sort of get some feedback on it. If you have anything positive or even constructive, I've not done something so well, I would like to know, because I might do something like this in the future. You can just tell me to be better at the game if you want. I will accept that as valid criticism. So let's start braking, holding A. There we go. And we're going to have to go all the way over here. In fact, we can hold shift to move faster. There we go. Switch that back to left. And then we're going to couple up to the final set, which is down there. So holding A to throttle. Also, if anyone does have any bug reports or anything with this, if you have any issues, you can either drop a comment and I can pass that on to the right people, or you can go to the Dovetail forums. I will leave a link to that website in the description. There are more people on there who are probably more knowledgeable about the game than I am. But if you don't want to make an account in there or anything like that, if you just drop a comment, I can pass on your feedback to the right people. Whether it's, again, positive or preferably constructive if it is something negative. So this one will also automatically couple. Holding D to brake. There we go. Hit it a little bit hard, but it's fine.
The troublesome trucks are all sorted now, and it looks like they weren't too troublesome. I'm certain you will be an expert driver in no time. If you'd like to learn how to drive diesel again, you can return to the training centre at any time to replay this tutorial.
So there you have it, folks. That's how you drive diesel. So we've done Thomas and diesel there. Hopefully that's been helpful to you. I hope you enjoy the DLC as well. Like I said, any feedback on either this tutorial or the DLC itself, leave a comment. Also, you know, liking and subscribing and stuff does help the channel, so that is all appreciated. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.